What is up, guys? Hopefully you can hear this. Hopefully you can see it. Hopefully things work properly. I'm not really sure how going live works, how anything on this works, to be totally honest. I'll give it a couple of minutes just so I can share the link, because I couldn't figure out how to do that before. And then what I'm going to do is explain sort of the process of recovery and what's been going on immediately after the surgery. The main reason I'm doing it as a live is because I can't be bothered to edit a video, if I'm being honest. I'm going to try and get all the programs done for the Strength Academy. I managed to do all my programs yesterday. So they're for my personal clients. And then trying to work through the Strength Academy clients today. Ready for people to start training again tomorrow. Obviously, it's Christmas week, so people might not be training as much as they can, but we don't want to sort of rest on our laurels and let people down. So we've tried to have as little disruption in the sort of programming side of stuff as possible. There we go. I've shared that to Instagram. That's what influencers are doing. So surgery was on Wednesday the 14th. So today is Sunday the 18th. So that's 4 days ago. It was a very strange experience for me. I've never sort of been consciously into an operating theatre before, which was really weird. When I had my knee surgery done, I got wheeled into an anaesthesia suite and then was put under, and then you get wheeled into the operating room. For this surgery, I walked into the actual operating room, jumped on the bed, got my arm strapped down, cannula in, and then that was it. I woke up. I think 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 hours later, I sort of woke up from a surgical point of view, but then woke up. Basically, I fell asleep. So then I woke up again later on, which meant Shiv wasn't able to visit the day of the surgery. To be 100% honest, that probably wasn't the worst thing in the world. I was really uncomfortable. The morphine made me throw up quite a lot, so I wouldn't have been the best company on sort of that Wednesday. I was in a shared room, which is why I didn't film anything whilst I was there, which is why I don't have anything to edit, which is why I'm not going to go and film loads of stuff to edit it now. The guy I was in a room with was really nice. It was sort of, we had very similar surgeries. There were a few differences. Rather than sort of discussing what he's had done, I'll just explain properly what I've had done, and then, you know, his differences are his differences for him to have, if that makes sense. But yeah, being in a shared room was strange. Woke up, had some food on the Wednesday, then threw up for a while, so that was fun. Then they took me off morphine and I was on a different painkiller, which made me not be sick, which was ideal. Thursday was a strange one. The whole recovery so far has been really weird in that my actual surgical pain hasn't been too bad. So the incisions aren't too painful. Nothing like that really hurts too much. Whilst I was in hospital, the biggest pains and annoyances were the drains that they had in my back or in my side. I'm not really sure exactly where they went in. However, you know, they're bags full of whatever's draining out of you. But the biggest issue was they have a join on them. So the drain that goes under your skin is obviously quite small. They don't want to put a massive hole in there. But then it has to get bigger, so fluid runs out thanks to Bernoulli. A few people, that's how fluid works. If you have a change in diameter, you have a change in pressure, fluid flows out of you nicely. But that join was directly on my coccyx, basically, which meant obviously I have to be on my back. I can't be on my side. I can't lie on my front. So there's just a lot of pressure on that one point. So I was getting really uncomfortable where the plastic join was. Luckily, on that Thursday, my surgeon came to check. He was happy with everything. And I mentioned it, and he was like, yeah, this is really stupid. We'll just move it. So move the drain. That took a lot of pain off. But then the drains generally aren't the most comfortable thing. And then having a cannula in my hand was just more annoying than anything. It wasn't super painful, but it caused a few issues in terms of catching it on things and stuff like that. But yeah, the actual surgical recovery isn't too bad so far. There's some really weird things because obviously there's been quite a extensive amount of damage and trauma to my upper body. So I have some really gnarly bruising, which has led to some nerve damage around the bruising. So that's really painful. That's just from the liposuction that they did on the sides of my back. So it's really painful in terms of like to touch, but inside it doesn't feel bad at all. They did an ultrasound on that before I left the hospital on Friday because they wanted to make sure that there was no gaps or fluid buildup. So they're really happy with it. They just said, it's neurological pain. You've had fairly major surgery, so you've sort of got to expect it. I have similar nerve pain in the top of my right quad. It's really occasional and it's not too bad, but it just, I think as things are reconnecting and stuff's starting to work again, I get the odd like electrical pain, which feels really strange, but again, fairly hefty surgery, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But the actual procedure, so I've had an extended fleur-de-lis abdominoplasty with chest reduction. I'm not really sure on the right term for that. It's similar to gyno surgery, but just sort of a lot gnarlier. So that led to what they call a free nipple thing. So my nipples got taken off and they've been grafted on. That's one of the areas of not concern, but a place to keep an eye on when we do dressing changes and stuff. From what the surgeon said, providing they're healing at all, then they'll heal. But it's a proper skin graft. So it's one of those things, there's an inherent risk associated with skin grafts and them not taking. But like male nipples are pretty pointless. So it's not the biggest concern. I'll go to Gordon James and get some tattooed on if I'm that bothered. But yeah, no real pain. There's a little bit of pulling. I'll unzip this. This is my excellent suit. You can't really see, but it's exactly how it looks. It goes down my legs as well. Every hour or so, I have to get up and move, trying to walk as much as possible. The most painful thing that painful thing I've ever experienced, on a par with when I ruptured my ACL, MCL, and LCL and shattered some cartilage and chipped some bone in my right knee. On a par with that is the back pump. So I'm not able to stand up fully, or I mean, I am able to, but it's not wise because everything's super tight. And what we want is the scars to be as thin as possible. So for this first week, at least, all the walking I do has to be sort of bent forward. So the back pump is next level. That's really sore. And then due to getting so big, but then also training my core so aggressively, I got, I think it's called diastasis recti. So my abdominal wall split apart, and then they've stitched that together. They've also had to stitch my obliques to pull everything in, because basically the amount of tissue that they've removed, my core wouldn't fit inside. So they've had to pull everything in. So it's really awkward getting up and down out of bed, especially. I'm back in the hotel now. So being out of the hotel, out of the hospital means, we've got a really nice, comfy, soft bed, but that means I sink into it. So I've had to tie the string from a dressing gown around the bottom of the bed so I can pull myself up without using my abs. It's a really weird thing, and I implore people to try it just because other people's suffering's slightly amusing to me. But try and go through your day without using your core or your obliques or standing all the way up, and it's really wank. But I can't complain. I shouldn't have got really fat. Thank you, Loz, as well. Hopefully going to see everyone at Britain's Strongest Man. My plans haven't really changed. I'm 4 days after surgery, walking around fairly well, other than the mad back pump. So still providing everything's healing. There's no unexpected swelling, no infection or anything like that. We'll be flying home on the 21st. Still planning on picking our puppy up on the 22nd. The only slight alteration will be whether it's me and Shiv going to pick him up or just Shiv going, which isn't ideal, but it's mainly to deal with the bloat from the flight. But it's only a short flight, so hopefully that all works. And then Britain's Strongest Man will be sort of the next time I'm out, I suppose, and going to see things. I'm planning on walking as much as possible. Basically, once I can stand upright, I think a lot of the pain will probably change and it will be more pulling on the skin. But once I can be upright and I can move around, then I'll be walking. It's looking at 12 weeks until I can climb again, just because of all the stitching to the core. But they've said I can go out walking. I can start running if I want to in 4 or 5 weeks. So things like that. I'll be really mobile and active. So I'm planning on sort of going to the climbing hangar and the works and stuff and just going for a coffee and getting out and about. One of the key things is just getting fueled at the moment and making sure I'm getting enough food in to recover, which is really weird because I almost feel like I'm force feeding at times, but I'm making sure I recover properly. And then once I can move and start being more mobile, more active and training again, then that weight's going to come off. In terms of results, I think I'm really happy with them. Obviously, I'm super swollen at the moment. The only area that's not great is there's just like a bit of fat under the armpit. But once I can start moving and start smashing out pull-ups and get running and stuff, then, I'll try and grow my back and lose a bit more fat there, and hopefully it balances out. How much did they manage to remove? So they removed 4.6 kilograms from my waist. They removed 1.5, I think, from each side of my chest. They removed 1 and a bit from each flank. And then I think it was 1.5 liters of like fatty cells and tissue with the liposuction. So in terms of actual weight off, I think immediately it's probably 10 to 15 kilograms, but then the long-term implication will mean that I think I'll, once I can get climbing again and training again, then I'll probably be looking at over 20 kilograms. I think it's just, I'm not 100% sure, but I know sort of they're the rough numbers that they said they removed. But then obviously there's a load of swelling. So I'm going to weigh myself in a few weeks, I think. Basically, once the swelling's gone down, and then I'll keep tracking that weight just to see what happens. It's, yeah, it's a tricky one because it's not a weight loss surgery. This was something that the surgeon was really sort of keen on expressing, was they're not doing surgery to remove weight. They're doing the surgery to remove the effects of having lost 60 odd kilograms. So it's probably, this time next year, I'd like to think I'm close to probably close to 100 kilograms total weight loss. So that should be crazy, like 225 pounds off if everything goes well. But I'm sort of focusing on recovery now rather than getting weight off. But I think that about covers stuff. In terms of recommendations, if there are people who are thinking about having this type of surgery, I would recommend it if you're sort of at the far side of needing the surgery. So I was in a state where, my chest was awful, like massive sacks of fat and skin, the same with my belly. It meant I was just carrying weight that I couldn't lose. I had loads of fat cells that would immediately sort of gain fat as soon as I ate anything off of a plan. So for me, it was worth it, but for someone like Loz, for example, who's just hit his £100 goal, I think he looks fucking phenomenal as it is. So I wouldn't say, if you look like Loz, then I personally wouldn't recommend it. It's really expensive and it's not the most comfortable thing, and it can put you out of action for a while. But if it's something you really want to do, I would massively recommend coming over to Nord Aesthetic in Kaunas. They've been really helpful. Their service has been amazing. The aftercare has been really good. I would have definitely booked into their apartments rather than a hotel. But their apartments weren't available. They were fully booked. So that sort of shows that it's a popular choice to do. But yeah, it's very weird at the moment because I'm getting used to being a new shape and a totally new feeling of, when you go and rub your chest or you go and do something and it stops in the right place and things are in different places. The stitch line is like right where the overhang of my belly was. So I'm not sure how that looks yet, but I think I'm happy with it. And I think, if you're in a position to be able to get it done, to be able to afford to get it done, because it's, not a cheap option. This is a lot cheaper than it would have been getting it done in the UK. But it was, and I can tell you exactly how much it was. Or I should be able to, but I've lost my little receipt. But you're looking at about £7,000 or something like that to get it done. It would be comfortably double that in the UK. However, for me and my quality of life moving forward, it's 100% the right choice for me. It isn't a substitute to diet and exercise and things like that, but I'm viewing it as sort of a bookmark in the end of one journey and moving into sort of a new phase of life. Being able to climb more, being able to do the stuff I want to do, being able to look better. Fundamentally, it's in essence purely vanity on some level, that I'm not happy with how I looked for a long time. So I want to get it sorted. If it's something I could have avoided, I maybe would have done, but I also equally don't regret having got it done. I just think it's a major commitment, but it's also a major investment. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for people's kind words and stuff like that. I've not managed to reply to a lot of people on Instagram, mainly because I'm using my phone to distract me from being in pain, as I'm trying not to take codeine too much, just because it causes you to be bunged up. Because I've got a line of stitches that run down here, which you can't really see, but all this tape underneath is covering stitches. The codeine makes you feel really bunged up, and then that causes more pain than I think it gets rid of. So if my pain's actively really bad and I can't change what I'm doing to avoid it, then I've taken codeine, but I've not been, taking it all the time. Like I said, the pain isn't too bad. It's very much stuff you can breathe through, other than the back pump. We went out for a walk earlier, and I had to convince myself to not just stand up and pop all the stitches out the front of me just to take the pressure off my back. Like, it's unbelievable. But other than that, like I keep saying, once I can stand upright, I think I'll feel a lot better about everything. But yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm looking forward to sort of what happens next. I'm really excited to start training again. I'm excited to get back out in the peak, get back to a few of the local climbing walls as well, and sort of learn to climb a totally different shape and a different weight. And then hopefully get over to Lattice and do some testing and see if predictions line up with stuff, and if the amount of weight that I've lost correlates with an improvement in climbing and stuff like that. And then next year, yeah, just looking forward to feeling better about everything, really. It's very apparent that Strongman has given me an amazing opportunity to do something like this, but it's also been a major trigger in why it happened. And I've been very fortunate to have been to be coaching Tom and Luke, who happen to keep, doing really well in competitions. And then I end up getting interviewed and then looking back at myself on telly and thinking I look awful. So hopefully next year that doesn't happen. But yeah, for me, it's going to be Britain's Strongest Man. No one competing. Just going to enjoy Strongman. It's round the corner because I live in Sheffield. So really excited to watch that one. And then providing my recovery is on track, out to the Arnold in Ohio, then World's Strongest Man. And then by that point, the recovery should be nearly complete. It should be about as good as it's going to get. So then we'll see what happens and see what's next. But I feel like I've been rambling for long enough. So yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining in. I'll check comments on this video if people want to ask questions. If they want to, get specific information, leave me a comment or send me a message or something like that. And I'll do what I can to help people with as much information as possible. But yeah, thank you for watching and take it easy, guys.